Hi guys, so today we're just going to be talking about different variations on your deadlift. Okay, so obviously, you all do your standard deadlifts pretty frequently, all right, but obviously as you see, there's different variations that we might use from time to time, which obviously we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of those exercises. Okay, so we're going to leave your conventional deadlift, all right, assuming you're all comfortable with those already, and we're just going to talk about those different variations, a few things to watch out for with your technique, and then obviously what we're looking to get from them that's different to your regular deadlift. Okay, so the first one is your RDL, okay, or stiff leg deadlift. Slightly different names, but a very similar exercise. So in comparison to your conventional deadlift, when we do an RDL or a stiff leg deadlift, we're really shifting the focus of the movement much more onto your hamstrings and lower back. Obviously, you're not gonna be able to lift as much weight, that's to be expected, okay? But we're really trying to focus where that load is and the muscle groups that we're working on, okay? So you really wanna focus on quality over just lifting as much weight as you possibly can, all right? Don't get me wrong, you'll still be able to lift a significant amount of weight on an RDL, all right? But you don't wanna sacrifice your form and your technique for that extra weight, okay? So on your RDL, like I say, you always just wanna have just that small knee bend, okay? We're not hinging at your knee anywhere near as much as what we would do on a conventional deadlift. Okay, so you're gonna just have that small bend in your knee, all right? And you're really just gonna focus on that hip hinge, okay? So your weight on your foot is gonna stay pretty much exclusively towards your heel through the full lift, okay? And all the movement is just gonna come from that hip extension, okay? So obviously you'll do a deadlift up, or I tend to do a deadlift up on your normal deadlift up when you start your set, okay? From there, then you'll set your knees in just that slightly locked out position, okay? And then from there, it makes it much easier to focus on just pushing your hips back, hinging at your hip, keeping your weight on your heels, and keeping the focus really on your hamstrings, okay? Now, when you do them, don't worry if you can't get all the way to the floor without your back grounding, okay? Generally, that range of movement is a little bit smaller, okay? Depending on how flexible you are. But you wanna go as low as you can while still keeping a flat back, okay? So like I say, for some of you, this will be more than others, okay? So that's your RDL. Obviously, as well as that, sometimes we use your sumo deadlift, okay? And again, this just changes the focus a little bit, mainly because of your foot stance and again, your position when you start, okay? So obviously your position on a sumo deadlift when you start is much wider with your feet, all right? Which means your shins start, or they want to be starting almost vertical already, which means you can really just emphasize your glutes and that hip extension as you stand up, okay? So your sumo deadlift is a much more glute focused exercise than your regular deadlift and your RDL, all right? Again, weight wise, this is a little bit different. It depends on where you're strong or weak, okay? But with your sumo deadlift, it's gonna be probably similar to your RDL as long as your glutes are reasonably strong, okay? If there's something that's a big weakness for you, then you might find it's a little bit lower, but generally they're about the same. And again, when we're doing your sumo deadlift, we wanna focus on that hip drive, all right, and engaging your glutes more than just lifting as much weight as you possibly can, okay? So like I say, you're gonna set up, you're gonna have your feet wider. Again, your weight's gonna be further back on your heel, just like on an RDL, okay? And then as you go to extend, because of that positioning, that foot positioning and your shin positioning, it means that you're really gonna be able to emphasize that hip drive, engage your glutes, and you wanna do that from the start, okay? Obviously on a normal deadlift, you'll pull to your knee before you start to extend through your hips, all right? Whereas on a sumo deadlift, you're gonna do that pretty much straight away as soon as the bar's left the floor. And that's what's gonna help you really emphasize that glute engagement and that hip drive, okay? Finally, last one I wanna talk about is a clean deadlift, okay? So again, a clean deadlift is something we might use either as an accessory for your clean, okay? Or again, just to switch the focus, okay? Now, obviously, the main difference in a clean deadlift is your setup position, all right? So again, just like the sumo deadlift, your setup position is gonna be different to your conventional, okay? But with a clean deadlift, your hips are gonna be a little bit lower than on a regular deadlift, okay? If you think about the difference between your deadlift setup and your clean setup, all right? Obviously, a clean deadlift is gonna be exactly the same as your clean setup, all right? So you're gonna have your hips a bit lower, chest a bit higher, okay? Which means on that first pull, you're gonna emphasize pushing with your quads a little bit more. And then again, when you get above your knee, just like on a regular clean, then you're gonna focus more on that hip extension, okay? So it's a little bit more of a balanced movement in terms of what muscle groups you're using in your lower body. okay? And like I say, the benefit of a clean deadlift is really as an assistance exercise for your cleans, because it's going to help you build strength in those positions that you use on your clean, because you're able to use a much heavier weight. So then when you go and do your cleans, it means that as you get up towards kind of your maxes, you're less likely to be pulled into a less optimal position, just because you're a little bit stronger in those positions, okay? So they're just 3 deadlift variations that we use from time to time, just giving you a little bit more insight into kind of the benefit of them and why we might use them. As always, if you've got any questions, feel free to give me a shout.